Students, welcome to COM 565. This week we are working on our literature review, research questions, and hypotheses. As we move through the agenda this week, it's important to keep in mind in the online eBury text you're reading through or going through chapters 3 and 4, we have a weekly lecture to watch in addition to writing 2 videos on literature reviews and 2 videos on constructing research questions and hypotheses. In addition to that, if you are assigned to meet with me in the week 2, the even weeks, you need to make sure you do so if you have not reached out to me already. And then you're writing your second draft towards your capstone project. So you should feel very excited about that we're in the literature review section. This week we'll have more than likely the bulk of the information. We'll be spending a lot of time in constructing your literature review. It's usually the most extensive and in-depth portion of your paper, regardless of the topic chosen. As you go through that, it's important to know that the purpose of the literature review is to select promising methods and measures for a research study. It's important to relate your findings to previous knowledge and establish a clear need for research. This is where you're justifying the need for the research within your area. The knowledge really allows the researchers to focus problems on what is not known. Remember, we use the literature review to identify a gap in the scholarship to show that our research is warranted in whatever we're doing or proposing. You also need to develop research hypotheses or questions at the end of your literature review. So as we continue to look through the purpose of the literature review, it's important to know that it helps us map and define our research topic. It's presenting a balanced view of what information is out there, as well as justifying your research questions or hypothesis, and allows you to stay up to date with what's currently being presented in your field. Remember, whatever you are basing your paper on, you have to show as if you are the expert in this information, so you need to know as much about it as you can in order to intelligently and logically respond in saying that there's a gap in the scholarship about this information. The literature is really designed for you to compare your findings within your discussion section at the end of your paper and emphasize credibility of the writer in your field. Some things to know: we are in communication research, we write thematic literature reviews. I won't say that that's a finality and that's the given answer every single time, but 99% of the time you're writing a thematic literature review. That's the literature review you are most familiar with if you've written one already, and what you have done in other courses to date. This is where you focus on specific topics that emerge in the information that you found, and you compile the research within those particular topics. As we look through that, we need to organize them in some type of narrative fashion and interweave the material we find in a way that is cohesive and makes sense narratively speaking. When we structure our literature review, it's important to know that we will use something like the inverted pyramid. It's an upside down pyramid. You're going to introduce the topic, which is the bulk of the information at the top. Your level of detail is going to descend into your research questions or hypotheses. You'll organize the themes in order of importance down to least importance until you get to your research questions. So keep that in mind. What are the most important themes you found in the information that you're creating, and how does that relate to what you're writing? Put those at the beginning and then descend it into least importance until you get to your justification of your research questions and hypotheses at the end of the literature review. Remember, the requirement for all of the drafts are 5 to 7 pages. If anything is going to exceed it, if any section is going to exceed that requirement, it's going to be the lit review, and I would not be surprised if it's upwards of 10 to 12 pages even. So don't worry too much on that. Just write all the information you can find about that and creating a great thematic literature review, and you'll be fine. And additionally, in looking at structure, it's important to look at these steps. The first thing you're going to do in creating and constructing a literature review is select a topic. Obviously, we've done that in week 1. We've picked our topic of research studies. Then we're going to search for scholarship related to that topic. After we've done that, we're going to develop the argument and find corroboration and information out there to present a clear argument as to why this particular area of study is the most relevant, is the best utilized, shows a significant gap. That's why we need to study this topic from the scholarship zone. Once you've done that, in step 4, you're going to survey the literature. Step 5, critique it, and then you're going to actually write it. So it's a full circular passion. You start with a topic and you come all the way around up through step 6. So I just wanted to point that out. I thought it might be useful as many of you move through a lot of the material and as we develop our studies further. At this point, if you have not already developed research questions, it's a good time to sit down and spend some time doing that. In your literature review, at the end of them, you need to develop clear research questions, and then the only time you would use hypotheses is if you're planning on conducting quantitative research, so some type of statistical research. So a research question guides and centers your research. It should be clear and focused, as well as synthesizing multiple sources to present a unique argument. It's not uncommon, especially in the amount of writing we're doing for your capstone project, for your particular to have at least 2 research questions. You can have 3, but that's just going to show that you need to have more literature to support the 3rd research question. So you should really be hovered around the area of about 2 research questions. And if you're confused about this or not sure where to go with that, you can talk to me in your weekly meeting or reach out to me in email and we can work this out. The research question should ideally be something that you're interested or care very deeply about. It's really your topic, just posed in the form of a paper. Be careful to avoid the all about paper and questions that can be answered in few factual statements. It needs to be very concise, clearly worded, and focused, but still be broad enough that you can answer that question within the 30 to 50 page requirement. If you go the route of developing hypotheses and you want to use quantitative data, it's important to know that a hypothesis is a tentative statement predicting a particular relationship between 2 or more variables. Typically, these independent and dependent variables must be mentioned and defined somewhere near the hypothesis in your literature review section, and hypotheses are used only in quantitative research. These statements really state what you want to accomplish or what you say your research is going to show. So, example, the perceived needs of the patient and users at Southampton Palliative Care Services are being met. You're going to prove that through the study you're going to conduct, or it's going to be a null hypothesis and not be proven. So a hypothesis is not a question, but it's a statement about the relationship between these 2 or more variables that you can clearly identify. Research questions and hypotheses are introduced at the end of your literature review. They're justified at the end of your literature review with some of your sources that you found within your review, and you provide a brief rationale for them. This isn't going to be more than a half a page to a page for the type of paper that we're writing, and it should really explain how they relate to your methodology, and it's almost as a bridge to your methodology section that comes right after that. So you'll have it at the very end of your lit review, you'll discuss them, and then after that it'll nicely segue into your methodology section, which we'll get into in week 3. As we move through the course content, again, remember we're working on our literature review. If you need to meet with me this week, you're assigned to meet with me in week 2. Contact me if you have not already so we can schedule that. In addition to it, I just pray you all have a great week and watch the videos. The videos provide some really good information about constructing research questions and hypotheses, as well as understanding the format and construction of a literature review. So students have had some questions about the course text. The course text is supplementary. It's on eBury. It's implied that you're going through it on a weekly basis, but detailed reading of it is not required. We're really at the point now where we're really constructing those capstone papers to really get you ready for graduation, because you're almost there. So I pray you all have a blessed week, and I look forward to interacting with you online.